Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, Sustainable Buildings Initiative. I'm Matt Reese, GreenGov Deputy Director. This webinar is co-hosted and supported through our partnership with Penn State Sustainability. The GreenGov Council was established as the Commonwealth Agency's Lead by Example program, promoting energy conservation and sustainable governance. Our charter sets forth performance goals for the Commonwealth, ultimately steering the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions within our portfolio. Additional agency goals focus on fleet electrification, high performance buildings, annual energy reductions, and the use of renewable electricity. You can visit the GreenGov website to see how agencies are meeting these performance goals. You will find a host of information, including agency certification checklists, informative webinar recordings, and portfolio tools that may assist you in developing and achieving your own performance goals. Now, we're pleased to introduce our friend, colleague, and partner at Penn State Sustainability, Peter Boger, PhD. Peter is the Assistant Director for Community Engagement at Penn State University Sustainability and responsible for developing strategic programming and partnerships, such as this one with the GreenGov Council, that help Penn State leverage its resources to promote
I saw you on the
sustainability
phone.
throughout the Commonwealth
You
of
heard me come in, I
Pennsylvania.
guess. You heard me come in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We ask that folks please
Pastor
mute.
called you.
Hi, everybody. So thank you, Matt, so much for the intro. Thanks to everybody who's joining us, muted or unmuted. As he said, my name is Peter Boger. I'm with Penn State Sustainability, and we're delighted to continue this partnership with Matt, Mark, and the GreenGov Council and the whole Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. When we started this partnership now several years ago, originally the thought with this webinar series was that this was an opportunity for the Commonwealth government who is trying to do education for Commonwealth employees to tap into the expertise of Penn State and think about what could we do to help teach them about sustainability. But what we've realized as this partnership has grown and matured is just how much of a two-way, three-way, five-way, 10-way street this is, and just how much knowledge and expertise resides all across the Commonwealth, whether it's at Penn State, other universities, NGOs, with state agencies, and that it's really a beneficial partnership for all of us to think about how do we leverage the expertise that sits across the state and help each other advance our goals together collectively. That's been the goal of this partnership. That's been the goal of this webinar series. And I think you're going to see today with the project being described just how much there is that synergistic partnership that goes both ways. And that we hopefully will continue to foster between Penn State as the land-grant university for Pennsylvania and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So we're delighted that you're here and joining us for this, which is our final webinar of this series. Hope you will join us in future webinars. And if you have ideas for people with expertise, for topics, for things you'd like to hear, or people you think we should be featuring, please do reach out to Matt, Mark, or myself as we think about what comes next as we kind of build this community together across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So thank you for joining us. I look forward to today's presentation.
Yeah, thanks so much, Peter. We certainly appreciate all the roads that we've developed right along the way, and it's been a really exciting process. And so next up, we'll have our presenters for today are Dr. Esther Abano and John Bechtel of Penn State. Dr. Abano is the Executive Director of the Global Building Network, a partnership between Penn State and United Nations. She's a jointly hired Associate Professor of Engineering Design and Architectural Engineering. Achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Targets are at the scale and rate needed requires exploration of pathways to unlock nonlinear multiplier effects through a more holistic analysis of trade-offs, synergies, and the potential for unintended consequences. Dr. Abano is exploring these issues through several research projects valued at over $10 million. She has a BS in building economics, an MS in architectural technology, and a PhD in civil and building engineering. John Bechtel has been the Assistant Director of the Design and Construction Division at Penn State's Office of Physical Plants since 2006, and just recently promoted to Assistant Vice President for Design and Construction. John has been responsible for contract administration, construction services, renovation services, and various organizational initiatives. Prior to joining OPP, John worked for over a decade with Turner Construction Company, where he was involved with the construction management of projects at Penn State in the Pittsburgh and Philadelphia areas and in the Netherlands. John's current passions include integrated project delivery, sustainability, lean design and construction, and prevention through the design. He mentors Penn State students and is a guest lecturer for a Penn State AE program. Next, I'll start today's presentation. And so why did we go down this path for creating sustainable building training modules? And the answer is foundation. A little bit of a pun, certainly pun intended there. And it's the establishment of a high performance building education foundation. And a lot of this first started with the GreenGov Charter, which established energy reduction and greenhouse gas savings goals for Commonwealth agencies, as well as development of a lead by example program to showcase those goals. So our goal of delivering high performance buildings has been the driver of this project, and to provide information and education on the value of high performance construction is the first step as we work to integrate further performance measures within our portfolio. Energy use reduction is the foundation of high performance buildings, with other measures as large contributing factors as well, such as efficient HVAC systems, use of natural daylight, and also the use of sustainable building materials. As we work to develop a path forward to invest in our portfolio, we realized it was best to establish a firm educational foundation on the core tenets of high performance buildings, as education is the key to driving change. Along the way, we discovered new sustainable building concepts as well, such as embodied carbon, environmental product declarations, and whole building life cycle assessments, further adding to the plan that we needed to lift up these educational components and concepts. Folks will learn of these concepts and components as well as numerous other strategies for designing and constructing high performance buildings within these modules that we're working to create. Our target audience for these modules includes all folks that have interactions with these buildings through project delivery, commissioning, occupancy, along with all the design, engineering, and construction folks associated with them throughout their life cycle. We plan to have the modules available and hosted on the GreenGov website by mid-May. And next, we have a little bit of a sneak peek for you here is that this summer we work again with Penn State to develop a sustainable building guidelines now that we have created this firm educational foundation. And with that being said, now that you know the why, I'll hand it over to Dr. Abanya, who will address the who and share information about the team of experts assembled at Penn State for this project.
Thank you. Thank you and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. So I'll start with the client side of the equation. We needed insights that were provided by a team represented by the following people. Heidi Kush, representing the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, Mark Hand, representing the GreenGov Council, Matt Rees, representing GreenGov Council as well. And then we also had Michael Twig, bringing in a perspective from the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. And when I say they were providing input, I mean they were actually co-creating the content with us, and they also invested significant hours in giving us feedback and pointers and suggestions, introducing us to a couple of people as well. And we couldn't have we couldn't have achieved the outcome we achieved without this feedback and input that they provided. Inside Penn State, we had different units collaborating. I'll start with the College of Engineering, which is my home. And I had my colleague, Professor Jim Freihardt, provide input. And also he was one of the featured speakers. Supraja Sudatan, who's an associate director within the Global Building Network, also provided content, and she's featured as one of the speakers. Behind the scenes, we had students from architectural engineering helping generate some of the content and do some of the due diligence work, including Homera Mihoseni, who's a doctoral student working with Professor Jim Freihardt. We also had input from the College of Arts and Architecture, represented by Rahman Azari. Rahman Azari is the director of the Resource and Efficiency Lab, and he was providing input on several of the modules, both as a speaker and also generating the content. The next unit is Office of Physical Plant. We had John Bechtel, who's going to be sharing about the process in a little bit. John, he's already been introduced, has been recently promoted to a vice president. Congratulations, John. I did not know this. And then we had input from one of our co-hosts, Peter Boga, who's in the Sustainability Institute, as well as Megan Hoskin. They were both content generators and they were featured as speakers in the series. We were also very lucky to get input from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. Mike Walsh graced us as a speaker. He's the Deputy Secretary of Administration. We had some input also from the U.S. Green Building Council, represented by Melissa Baker, who is a Vice President. She is featured as a speaker in the Green Rating Building modules. And last but not least, this is a video production series. It would not have been possible for us to generate the videos without the technical support and input from Media Commons at Penn State. We had initially got some input from Stephanie Swindle-Thomas, and then towards the middle of the project, we also got very privileged to have Chris Lee join us as a team member. So with that, I conclude. I've presented the team. We are very fortunate and we feel very blessed to have all these experts providing both content and also speaking, and then on the client side, providing feedback and iteration. I'll hand over to John Bechtel to talk us through the process.
Great, thanks so much, Esther. Really appreciate it. So just some transition slides here, some photos from Penn State. Some of our buildings we're very, very proud of. So yes, so John Bechtel, it's great to be here today. Thanks so much for the invite. Thanks for the introductions. And I'll spend about 15 minutes here planning to share with you the what and what we have accomplished and how we got there. So we wanted to develop some foundation educational videos on sustainable design and construction principles that are required to start your journey. And we finished, we're almost there. We have 11 educational videos ranging from about 5 minutes to 16 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, from a variety of topics. And we agreed to 11 videos. We have 3 kind of foundation videos. We have 1 on integrated design. We thought that was very important. And then 5 on technical concepts, and I'll show you more on that later, and then two kind of bonus topics. So what is the journey? I think we all know most of our buildings are designed to code. Even if they are green and high performing, they still do have negative impacts on the environment, and we're trying to push our buildings to the right on this chart. Eventually getting to net zero, right? Net zero waste, energy, water, and then moving further to the right and actually having a positive impact on the environment. And obviously that's our kind of ultimate goal. So step number 1 in the development of these videos, we spent a lot of time on this, trying to determine the topics to tackle. We did some benchmarking across the industry, looking at other videos that existed and other educational modules that existed out there. And this took us a month or 2 to get here. And as I mentioned earlier, we decided on 3 kind of foundation topics: introduction, the business case, video number 2, kind of the, why do we need to do this and the business case behind that. And then of course, an overall kind of review of the frameworks that exist out there for owners. So we wanted to cover that. Number 4 here, integrated project design. We feel that that's important. We feel that these buildings do deserve a more integrated approach to design. So we did tackle that concept. And then
so it's not as loud.
Like somebody, we do need to mute somebody out there. And then we have
everybody mute.
Yes, thank you. And then of course, we had 5 technical concepts. You see a lot of these topics in the frameworks that exist out there: energy, material, indoor air quality, of course, water efficiency, and sustainable sites. We decided on those 5 areas. And then 2 bonus topics, of course, embodied carbon, a lot in being talked about in the industry about embodied carbon and green leasing, of course. So that was step 1, is to agree on the concepts to present. Step number 2 in this process was taking those topics and really thinking about the key concepts that we need to cover before we even started to approach a script or even a video. So we developed this key concepts. I'm not going to read through these, but just that's an important second step, is to really frame out each of these. Are we covering the right topics that are necessary for a Sustainable Design and Construction 101 video series. So we did spend some time on this, working with our partners and making sure that we did have the right concepts across these 11 topics. And then, of course, as a project manager, we had to develop a schedule. The first step, obviously, is the development of the script. After we got the topics outlined and the key concepts, we made assignments across all of our partners that we were working with, and we began to develop detailed scripts. So that was the first step before you would enter production of a video. Of course, is mapping out when the scripts were done. The scripts went through some level of approval process across the partnership. Once those approvals were done, then we would get into the studio. So from script to actually, having a video to watch and review took months, sometimes 3 to 4 months. A lot of us were new at this, and we did learn a lot through this process. And I'll show you some examples of some scripts that we developed just quickly. And then I will show you the final product, a couple of excerpts of the final product to give you a feel for what we produced. So here's an example of a detailed script that was developed for the water efficiency. Of course, timing was important in terms of, how trying to keep these videos to 5 minutes to 20 minutes, somewhere in between. At first, we thought, they would all be short 6-7 minute videos. But as we started to tackle each of these topics, they grew in length. I think one of my videos was about 16 minutes. Trying to reduce that now. But the timing and then who narrates it, trying to have a variety of speakers, make sure that they were interesting, and having the right experts to speak to them. And then, having some type of visual as well, and not just speakers talking, but more of a lecture type with a PowerPoint with visuals coming up. And then detailed narration had to be developed for each of these. So this just gives you an example of what kind of happened behind the scenes before we went into the studio to develop the actual video. To frame it out with visuals and then the exact content that you wanted to cover. And this is another one here, integrated project design. And you see some of the level of detail there required as well. And then I'd like to show you some of the final product. This is just a transition slide here. This is in our Icon lab here at Penn State, where we're trying to do a lot of our integrated project design for our projects. So after the development of the script, as mentioned by Esther, we did get help from our media commons. They have a one push button studio where all of us went to recording to produce these videos. And that was a big help, of course, and enabled us to produce the quality that we felt was necessary for these videos. That's just a picture of the media commons in the studio where we shot these videos. So what I'd like to do now is actually show you some excerpts from the final products. First, I will show you an excerpt from the embodied carbon video, just to give you a feel for that one. And then I'll show you a minute or two of the integrated project design video. And Esther, if you wanted to chime in on anything there as I pull up these videos, feel free.
Okay, so I'll be the commercial break while he's doing this. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah, so one of the things that we all realized is having the technical content and then delivering it effectively, those are not the same thing. So when John says it took a long time and several iterations, it was down to like going back to the studio 3-4 times, sometimes, for large sections, other times for small sections. So we greatly appreciated the value of feedback and iteration because we could cut clips that we think could be worked on a little bit more until everyone was satisfied, both on our end and on the side of the client. Over to you, John.
You got it. So I'll push play here, and this will give you a feel for the beginning part of the embodied carbon video that we are trying to finalize. Each of the videos will have kind of similar beginning that you're seeing now with the music, and then the video title.
Hello and welcome to the Embodied Carbon module of the Sustainable Building Training series. In this short video, you can expect to learn about what embodied carbon is, why it is important, and how we can reduce it in buildings. Embodied carbon considers all greenhouse gas emissions that are emitted in the full life cycle of the building, from extraction of raw materials through transportation, manufacturing, construction, maintaining and replacement, potential demolition, and its future life. As you might guess, every construction material has an embodied carbon figure or value attached to it, even before it is used in buildings. This is called upfront carbon or cradle-to-gate embodied carbon and includes all carbon dioxide emissions during the manufacturing processes of a certain construction material before the material is transported to the construction site. Upfront carbon varies from material to material. A timber beam, for example, has lower embodied carbon than a concrete beam, carrying the same structural loads. This is mainly because the production of timber is less energy and carbon intensive. Similarly, a building made with timber superstructure would have a very different embodied carbon than a building made with a steel structure. In discussions about embodied carbon, you also might hear about operational carbon. Operational carbon is different than embodied carbon, as operational carbon is about all carbon dioxide emissions from the energy and electricity we consume to keep our buildings warm, cool, illuminated, and powered. Operational carbon can be reduced by strategies such as making buildings super insulated and airtight. The question is now why we should care about embodied carbon.
The first reason is that the upfront carbon of materials used in construction, such as concrete and metals, is responsible for 11% of greenhouse gas emissions globally, according to the United Nations Environment Program data. Building envelope and interior materials are estimated to be responsible for roughly another 6 to 8%. The second reason is that the share of embodied carbon in buildings' carbon footprint is going to increase as buildings are going to become more and more energy efficient in future decades. For example, in a net zero energy building, between 75 and 100% of the life cycle carbon emissions will be caused by embodied carbon.
Okay, I'll stop there. I just wanted to give you an idea of one of the videos. I'll stop sharing here. You wanted to watch more, didn't you? I hope so. Now we'll show an excerpt from the integrated project design video. And it's very difficult to watch yourself on video, but I'm going to try. So I'll share this one, just show you maybe a minute or two. And this is about 8 minutes in on this one. One practice you can utilize on a project to promote a more integrated design approach is target value delivery, TVD, as promoted by the Lean Construction Institute, LCI. TVD is a disciplined management practice to be used throughout the project to assure the facility meets the operational needs and values of the users, is delivered within the allowable budget, and promotes innovation throughout the process to increase value and eliminate waste. For the purpose of this video, I will highlight some of the key TVD concepts as I share an example of TVD application on a project at Penn State. If you would like to learn more, please reference the LCI publication titled Target Value Delivery, listed at the end of this video. TVD establishes a project governance structure to ensure team integration and timely decision-making. As you see in this project organization visual, TVD establishes an SMT, called the Senior Management Team, PMT, Project Management Team, a core team, and discipline clusters, with each cluster being assigned a target cost value. You also see support clusters to help drive concepts that are important to that particular project. For this project, we established support clusters for sustainability and academic engagement, both critical to project success. The sustainability cluster was important to establishing the sustainability goals for the project, as mentioned earlier in this video, and is responsible for project sustainability success in design and construction. The cluster discipline teams included members from Penn State's Office of Physical Plant, the design team, the construction manager, and users, operations, and other consultants as assigned. This created the integration opportunities previously discussed. Cross-collaboration of the cluster work groups occurred during frequent report outs to the entire design and construction team during all phases of design. A visual of the meeting cadence and structure is shown here. In order to apply this concept, education and training is required for the project team if they have not experienced this more integrative approach. We believe that through the application of a more thoughtful approach to the design phase, through the governance, organization, and collaboration and decision-making, you will begin to see better outcomes on your projects. The TVD approach is one way to introduce a more integrative design process to your organization and project. In the last section of this video, I will share some additional or bonus lean practices. Okay. That's a quick showing of the integrated project design video, and I know you wanted to see more, and I have the same shirt on that I had on then, which is interesting. Let me bring up the slides again. All right. Okay, so that gave you a feel for the final product, if you will. So excerpts from two of the videos, integrated project design and embodied carbon. And we tried to mix it up, giving you a lot of variety, different visuals, different concepts throughout. And, we do hope you enjoy them. So we are finalizing the videos now, fine tuning, if you will, checking them out, doing some quality control on the videos. We hope that they're ready by May 1st or mid-May, as mentioned earlier. And yeah, just a quick transition slide here. This is cross-laminated timber use on a project at Penn State, talking about embodied carbon. And our first use of CLT in lieu of metal decking on a project. And in fact, I think Esther's in this building right now. That's where her office is. This building is now finished. Okay, back to the videos. So we're working on some promotional documentation for the videos that could go on the websites, for GreenGov or other website, where you can have access to something like this, where you can just click on the videos. They do build on each other, but you don't have to watch them in sequential order. I think you can bounce around as needed, but if you do watch them, it might be better to watch them from 1 to 11. But we are working on the promotional material being developed, and some of the key takeaways that I just want to reiterate, and others can chime in as we bring this webinar to a close before we open it up for Q&A. So just some key takeaways. This was a collaborative effort. A lot of people, so throughout the videos, as you'll notice, there are a lot of people speaking. We brought a lot of experts and knowledge into the content. It is focused on 101 content. So if you're further along on your journey, these videos are probably not for you, but those teams that are starting their journey with sustainable building, design, and construction, that's the target of these videos. So it's Sustainable Buildings 101 content. As you noticed, this was a multi-step process to produce these videos, and quite eye-opening for those who haven't produced videos before. So we tried to get the right people in, and of course, utilizing, as Esther mentioned, utilizing some students as well. We're happy about that, and of course, staff at Media Commons. As mentioned, variety of speakers and content available in May, and we hope that you start your journey towards more sustainable buildings, and we hope that these educational videos give you a good start. So thank you. Turn it over to you, Matt.
Yeah, fantastic. And thanks, John and Esther, for your your efforts on the project and also your presentation today. And we plan to host these sustainable building educational videos on the GreenGov website by mid-May, as soon as they're completed, and we will share links with the group as well. And with that being said, we'll now stop the recording.